I think it's the first time all of us have been together with our new group. And the first order of business is to approve the minutes from our October the 6th meeting, and I'm going to call on our Vice Chairman, Paul Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have reviewed the minutes and find them in order and move for approval.
Motion?
Second.
And a second. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up is our investment report, and here comes Mr. Beatty. Welcome.
Good evening. We had a significant rate increase at LGIP. It ended last month at 2.95, and the bank rate was 2.76, but rates changed last Wednesday, so our current bank rate is 3.4 on the funds in the bank. So, and looks like maybe goes up again next month.
Okay, does that conclude your
That's it,
report?
yes, sir.
Are there any questions for Mr. Beatty? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second. Hearing no questions, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ted. All right, next is our fund condition report, and we'll call on our finance director, Michael.
So the first thing you'll see on your fund condition report is the school facilities tax and development tax revenue. That tax for October of this year is October compared to October of last year is actually up 4.4%. So that's good news. And then next, the next report is going to be our cash balance. And as at the end of October, we had $405,702,365.76 of cash on hand, with 90% of that being operating funds and approximately 10% being borrowed funds. Then another thing I want to note, you have one more attachment that's going to be a revenue report. And I want to note a couple of things on there, and I know we have a couple of new members. So if you will flip to that next sheet. As you know, in October, we started collecting property tax. So if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of that first sheet, it'll show where approximately are. So this year, we've collected approximately 5.34% of our property taxes. And then I have the comparisons dating all the way back to 2015 on there. So we're kind of right in line of where we should be. And then the other thing that's on that report to the bottom right is showing how much we collect at the end of the year. And so you can see we always run about 98% of collections. So I just wanted to point that out to the new members on this committee. The other thing I want to note, as Mr. Beatty stated, interest rates are up, so our interest revenue is up. So that is good news. And in addition, our sales tax and hotel motel tax continues to run above where it did last year by approximately 10% and 21% respectively. And with that, that concludes my report.
Any,
So the answer is, it depends. It's kind of all my answers are. So like, I'll give an example. So for certain revenues, for like the opioid money that we have, that's going to go directly back to the opioid money. So there's certain pots that go directly back to the pot that's generating the interest. And then we have other general interest, and that is allocated based on how the budget was approved. And that some of that interest goes into the general fund, and I believe debt service, Mark? Some go into debt service as well.
Debt service, schools, and
General fund, right?
general fund, yeah.
Yep. So that's based on the budget percentages that was approved back in the original budget resolution.
Commissioner Harris.
About 3 years ago, we passed a liquor by the drink.
Okay, mixed drink tax?
Yeah, and I haven't, is this, do you have that figure, or am I not, is it?
It is
grouped in
lumped,
with something else?
it is lumped into, on this sheet. Now, if I can pull that after this meeting if you want. I don't know that number off the top of my head, but that is going to be lumped in the numbers that you're seeing in this revenue, but I don't have it broken out. I can break that out every month if you'd like me to.
Yeah, because I want it, to me, that's a factor in some other stuff. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on the report? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next up is our risk management financial report. Mr. Elam, welcome.
Chairman, Commissioners. So in the 264 fund for the calendar year, October of 2022, revenue, you'll see $7,710,708. Expenditures, you'll see $7,553,115. Revenue less expenditures, you see a positive $157,593. The total year-to-date calendar year, you'll see $70,874,672 in revenue. Expenditures, $67,791,042. Revenue less expenditures, a positive $3,083,630. And then for the calendar year, the fiscal year, you'll see revenue at $20,922,793. Expenditures at $27,642,428. Revenue less expenditures, you'll see a negative $6,719,636. The 266 fund report for the month of October, you see that there is workers' comp, $192.83. OJI expenditures, $40,473.51, for a total of $40,666.34. Year-to-date, for workers' comp, you see $1,354,205.84. OJI, you see $175,016.56. The total year-to-date, $1,529,222.40. Next, moving on to the legal expenditures. For the month of October, there is a total of $35,849.28. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you've heard the report. Do you have any questions for the director?
What is on the county attorney expense? It's $35,000, that's actual, I presume, and the $30,331 is a budget number, or what is that?
The $30,331 was last year's number.
Okay, so we're
And that-
doing a
Yes,
comparison.
sir. And then that shows the comparison of this year's number for that month.
Okay. Okay, that answers the question, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion on this, if there are no other questions.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second.
Second, 2 seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You've got something else, don't you, Ed?
Yes, sir. I have a recommendation coming from the Insurance and Risk Management Committee. And what we're working on here is the eligibility for retirement. Because of the schools leaving, we have to change our plan document because the plan document is written to where we're both together as a group. And so we're having to kind of rewrite some things. And while we're doing it, we're also looking at maybe cleaning up some things that are in those eligibility and plan documents. So the recommendation from the Risk Management Committee was to approve the Rutherford County Local Government Retirement Eligibility as presented. And this would be pending Nick Christensen's approval. He has reviewed it, but this is a document that'll last forever. And so we wanted to make sure that we've got all of the language in it exactly the way it should be. And we think it's very, very close. Just one last look at it. And if changes are needed, we'll ask that it be allowed to be updated before the commission meeting. And I'll explain the document to you really quick. The old document has where you can do a stipend plan, and whether it's either the adequate rate or $1,000. That, in years ago, prior to me, it used to be, I think, $500, and then it was bumped up to $1,000. And it is a Freedom Choice health reimbursement account to where the county just pays X number of dollars and you're really off the county plan. You're not on, it's not a health insurance plan, it's just a health reimbursement account. It is at this time managed through Cigna, but other than the last two buckets in here, we decided the recommendation from the insurance committee was to remove the stipend plan. I can tell you, since I have been here 3.5 years, we've probably had maybe 5 people go on it. And I think we have a total of maybe 20 to 23 that are on it now. It's the idea was to pay somebody instead of coming on our plan, but and the other thing is when people get on it, I'll give you an example. They want to use the stipend plan. They're on their spouse's insurance. They want to use the stipend plan to help pay the premiums, but the premiums can only be paid after tax. So if they have a pre-tax plan, they can't use it to pay use the stipend money to pay that. And we tell those people when they go into the plan that that's the case and they think they may have enough medical bills. But then they get into it, and it's not where you just write them a check for $1,000. They have to show that they have the medical bills. And so then they get in it, and like the spouse loses their job or retires, then they have to go out and find their own plan, and they want to come back to Rutherford County. And, you know, our policy is that once you leave, you can't come back on the stipend plan until you reach the age of 65 for the post-65 plan. So the stipend plan just it adds a lot more verbiage to our plan, and, you know, the recommendation from the insurance committee was just to take it out of all but the last 2 buckets. And that's where you only get a stipend plan. So that was a recommendation from the Risk Management Committee. And you have it on SharePoint now, what the new language that the recommendation from the committee is. When I say the last 2 buckets, it's 7 up to 10 years service, 10 years up to 20 years service, A and B, and 20 or more years of service, A and B. Now, the ones that have the stipend plan now, we're not taking that benefit away from them. We'll still, they'll still be able to remain on that stipend plan. It's just everybody after 1/1/23 that would be removed for those buckets.
You're saying that people that have it now will continue until they're 65?
Yes, sir. We're not taking
or-
that. We're not taking that. The people that have that benefit now, we're not taking that away from them.
Are there any other changes here that would actually take or change a benefit that our people have now?
No, sir.
And there's no cost associated with what you're bringing us tonight, I assume?
No, sir, I mean, it's, it's hard to predict what medical bills will be, but,
Well, you're not asking for money to be transferred
no,
tonight for
no,
this,
sir.
is what I'm-
No, sir,
that's what I'm pointing out.
this is eligibility that we're talking about, and trying to move towards updating our plan documents. Because I have to have the eligibility first before I can write it into the plan documents.
Any questions from the committee?
I just have a question, Mr. Chairman. As a retiree, do I need to abstain on any of this?
Here's my opinion. My opinion, since it does not, we just stated that this is not affecting cost. So I'm assuming that it would be all right. And we can ask Nick when we get to full commission for verification. But like I said, if there's no money coming into your pocket, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just make a comment. Commissioner Johnson, the stipend plan that we're changing, you're already in that bucket. So what the changes we were made, you've already got qualified, your eligibility has already been met. So it wouldn't affect you, if that's what you're asking, it wouldn't affect you because you've already met your eligibility, and this would be effective as of 1/1/23.
Well, I just don't want to be a guest at the sheriff's office out there.
Well, yeah. And I don't want to be blamed for you being out there either, because I don't want Mrs. Johnson coming to see me.
One thing I'd like to do, since we do have a member of the insurance committee here, Commissioner or Chairman Phillips, if you don't mind chiming in, or if you don't.
I don't mind chiming in at all. The thought that's going through my mind, Mr. Elam, you said this would change it forever. Is that a promise of a benefit forever?
I don't know that I may have said forever, but it changes it as of 1/1/23. It'll be taken out of eligibility what you have. You can either choose a stipend plan or you can stay with the county plan.
The way I understood, all of the retirement plans that relates to medical benefits was a benefit that was offered, but not a promise of it being there forever.
Yes, sir.
And I want to make sure that what you said did not change that.
Let me, I may have misspoken. Let me say this. It is a document that moving forward, it needs to withstand over whatever period of time until it's changed. These documents, you don't want to be changing them every month or two or once a year. So you are correct. Forever is probably a wrong word to use. It's just, you want it to be able to stand time without having to come back and make corrections.
Thank you. And I'm also going to ask a question too. We've had the school board, as an example, went from our benefit plan to a state benefit plan, and we've been working through some of the effects that might have on the cost of our plan, and I know you've done a wonderful job in making sure that it's still affordable, or as affordable as it was. Let me just ask this particular question. Did those employees from the school board carry any benefit with them as it relates to pre-65 and post-65 retirement benefits? Did they lose that option when they went to the state benefit plan?
Well, I can't speak to the state plan because it's not in my wheelhouse. It's very complex like the county plan. I do know that they had to leave and go to the pre-65s left our plan and had to go to the state plan. The post-65s up until 12/31/2022 are with the county. And will continue to be with the county after 1/1/23. It's up to Board of Education, what they're going to do, 1/1/23, forward with those retirees post-65s.
But all of those Board of Education employees that retire in the future will not have the opportunity to participate in this plan.
As of 1/1/23, the Board of Education will make the decision on what to do with the retirees moving forward, post-65 retirees moving forward. And then whatever they bring to the commission for approval, if that's what they decide to do, if they want to marry it or whatever, that's up to them and the body of the commission. But because they've left and gone to the state, they've left our plan as of 12/31/22.
So when they've left our plan,
Yes, sir.
they're on the state plan, and they do not have access to our plan when it comes time to retirement.
1/1/23, yes, sir.
Very good, thank you.
And again, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth or the Board of Ed. If they decide to come back to the commission and they come up with some type of a plan and maybe to go back into our plan, and that's what the board, and that's what the county commission decides to do, that is up to, powers to be. I hope I've answered your question, but
Ed, you've done a really good job of skirting a yes or no answer, and I don't blame you. 100.
I'm trying not to put words in a commissioner's mouth or Board of Education. And, when you leave our plan, like the stipend plan, people leave and they want to come back. And it's a problem because their future just doesn't play out like they thought it would. And so when the schools left and went to the state, they left our plan. And as of 1/1/23 post-65s, it's a decision they'll have to make on how they want to deal with those. We still have the present retirees and anybody that retires up to 12/31/2022. At this time, we still have those. I will say the Board of Education also has the right, if they want to pull those from the county now, the existing retirees, and take them with them also. So I can't speak for the Board of Education and what may happen later on.
Theoretically, as years go by, it could save the county a lot of money. This retirement plan, benefit retirement plan, going forward. If those employees accept the state plan, they're off our plan, they don't have access to this plan, as time goes by, years go by, it could actually save the county a lot of money, or some money, I don't mean a lot, but some money as it relates to this pre- and post-retirement benefit plan. If they do not have access to it, that could actually save the county money going forward. Correct?
Well, it again depends on how the Board of Education decides to supplement their plans. So I'm not trying to skirt your question again, but it all depends on how they decide to fund the plan themselves.
If they're not on our benefit plan, but they want to get into our retirement plan at some point in time, what is our right? Can we tell them, no, you're not on our benefit plan, so you're not getting into our benefit retirement plan? That's my question as it goes forward, and it's probably been discussed, but I don't remember that conversation, Ed. And if you'd rather not answer it.
No. To answer your question, the line in the sand is 1/1/2023. And then they've got to decide how they're going to handle all retirements as of 1/1/23 moving forward, and how they're going to supplement it, and what they want to share in costs, however they want to do a stipend plan, whatever they want to do. You and I both know when you're doing a budget, there's a big pot of money, and then it's all divvied out, but it all still comes out of the same pot of money. Taxpayers, state funding, and everything else. So I just can't predict what the Board of Education will do and how they will fund that retirement plan. I'm not the finance director, and I don't know how it'll have to, I would assume, come back to this body at some point or another.
The retirement plan that decision is up to this commission, based on who you want to let on the plan and who you do not want to let on the plan. Just like when this commission voted several years ago to say if your spouse is offered insurance somewhere else, your spouse can no longer be on this plan, you would have that same option once they leave. Now, kind of what Ed is saying is the board could decide to do their own retiree insurance plan, and they would have every right to do that. Now, they would have to come up with a funding mechanism, and that funding mechanism would have to be subsequently approved by this body, but they do have that right to come up with their own, whether it be self-insured plan at the school system or whether it be through the state. They could do either one of those.
The commission has the final decision whether or not to accept that.
You have the final decision whether or not to accept what goes on the county's retiree plan. But as far as their plan, what the school board offers, that is up to the school board. The only say the commission would have potentially would be funding for that.
No.
Let me just say the insurance committee does a wonderful job, does a lot of work, saves the county, I think, a lot of money. The wrinkle this year has been the school board opting to go to the state route versus the county route, and to be able to maintain our cost is a lot of hard work, and your department's done a wonderful job. Thank you, Ed.
Mr. Irvin.
Sorry, I just had a few quick questions. This is only the stipend, or the summary indicates there's some kind of stipend and a Medicare supplement to Medicare Advantage change?
Well, yes, sir. And let me take you back. The county commission did the Medicare Advantage plan, agreed to it, and it goes into effect 1/1/23. So we're just changing the verbiage to that to match what the county commission approved back, I think, March or April of this past year. They went from a self-insured plan to the Medicare Advantage plan. So that, again, in the verbiage in here, it's to change that to where it is a Medicare Advantage plan.
Okay, and there are no other changes?
No, sir.
Okay, and there's no money involved here?
No, sir.
And just kind of as background info, are there ERISA implications?
Is there what?
ERISA implications to this?
No.
Okay. So are we not covered by ERISA, or how does it
No.
work? Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the director? Commissioner Serino.
Mr. Allen, I appreciate you and your staff, set up the 2 meetings for this week, so I have a chance to attend. I know many people appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I didn't know when I took this job that I'd be a production manager, and the Medicare Advantage plan meetings I thought went well. There was a signal flew in here from a couple different places, and I was very pleased with the outcome of it, and thank you very much.
Any further questions? Here none, we'll entertain a motion.
I so move.
I have a motion, Commissioner Serino,
Second.
second, Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? Here none, let's call a roll on this one, Mark.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Serino?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, next item is 5 Tennessee Corrections Institute grant for the Sheriff's Office and related general fund budget amendments. Welcome, Mr.
Good evening.
Spence.
This amendment allocates funds awarded to the Rutherford County for the Tennessee Corrections Institute Jail Financial Year 23 Training Grant, no match grant. The grant's $9,760. We're asking to accept that and place it in our other equipment line item.
And to accept the grant.
And accept the grant, sorry.
Contract is included in there also.
Okay, you've heard this. This was seen at Public Safety. Who's our Public Safety rep? Reno, are you on Public Safety? This was presented at Public Safety. I happened to be there. It passed unanimously. This is a no-match grant.
Yes, sir.
And again, I'm looking for a motion or any further questions.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno. Any questions? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Harris? Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Continue.
This amendment is to recognize revenue and expenses for the new year, financial year for 22 Office of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistant Grant. It is for the Sheriff's Office body-worn camera equipment, related supplies, services, and one part-time administrative support person. It's a 3-year award with 50% match. The full grant is $399,284. $199,642 for the grant and also the county's match. The period of performance is October 1st of this year to September 30th of 2025. This budget amendment is for 1 year. We're requesting to accept the grant and contract. This year is $82,925 from the grant, and then the county's match is $82,925. $14,700 of the money would go into our part-time line item. $868 would go into Social Security. $203 would go into Medicare. $34,346 would go into data processing, and then $116,426 would go into the data processing equipment line item. And this amendment is just for this year.
You've heard the request on this grant, and it's 50% matching grant for body cameras. See a person to help organize or oversee it, and also maintenance on those. Is this the first time we've actually purchased cameras other than just a trial?
We've got in-car cameras now, but this is the first time we've purchased body cams.
Mr. Johnson?
This came out of Public Safety with unanimous approval?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is basically just for the first year, right?
This portion of
50
the
grand.
amendment, then it's broken down second and third year on amount.
Okay, but this will be a recurring amount for the next 3 years, right?
The second year, the total is $120,487, and then the third year total is $112,947.
Okay, but it's all on a 50-50 grant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a motion to approve application for this grant,
Second.
and a second. Any
And what-
further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. And what was our part? You said it's 50-50, but is that 165, 850, or is that the whole?
This year's, Commissioner, is $82,925. The total split between the grant and the county is $199,642 for the whole 3-year grant.
So we're splitting the 199?
No, we're splitting the $399,284 for the 3-year.
So our
total.
part for 3 years is 199,
Yeah,
642?
yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, sir.
And we've got the option on how we're paying that. Just at the end of that 3 years, that 199's got to come across to them. Any other questions from the committee? Commissioner Irvin?
How many body cams will this?
100 body cams. That would take care of our patrol deputies.
About 100. And I was listening to the ongoing costs. Are there any additional costs?
No, the grant will take care of the storage for the video cloud storage, but the 4th year we would pick it up.
Fourth year?
Yes, sir.
Full cost?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I've got a couple. What about ongoing cost after the third year? Any idea? Y'all projected that?
Yes, sir. The cloud storage is $33.21 per camera per month, a yearly total of $39,852. That counts the storage and licensing for the technology. Also, after the 25th month, we can replace, if there's any updates on the software, they'll replace the cameras free for us.
Okay, now, a couple of other questions. This did come up in public safety.
Yes, sir.
Have you got written procedures on how you're going to handle
Yes,
how the
sir.
officers have to wear them, when they turn them on, when they turn them off? Who has access to that tape afterwards? Is that public record, or what's the
Yes, sir.
protocol?
Yes, we have a body cam policy, and we have a third body involving the grant. They have to review our policy to make sure it fits protocol, and this will be public record if I may request it.
Who is the third party?
I'm not sure. They work with the Department of Justice.
Any further questions from anybody on the committee? Commissioner Johnson?
Chairman, I have one other question. Item number 7. Go ahead and include that at the same time. There's no money involved. It's a question for violent crime intervention grant. It's we include both of them at the same time?
I don't have a problem with that if I don't hear an objection, but I would like Mr. Spence to go ahead and read what that grant is, if the rest of the committee is okay with getting them both. Mr. Gooch.
Just one additional question. You may have answered it. Did you say this is going for patrol, starting out with patrol?
Yes, sir.
And so what about the leadership in patrol? Or
Yes,
just
sir. The officer advisors will have them.
But there's no plan at this time to, for your jailers to carry them?
No, so we want to start with this and then work our way to corrections and then possible SROs.
Do we not have a motion and a second on the floor?
We do.
Vote that, or can you?
I was going to ask if Commissioner Gooch wanted to reverse his motion, or his second, and Commissioner Johnson want to reverse his motion, or they want to include that into the motion, either way. But both of them will have to agree, not just to Mr. Johnson.
Why don't we just leave it like it is, guys, if that's all right with you, Commissioner Johnson? And that way, since we're voting here, we're gonna have to call roll since we're spending money on this. No objection to that, Commissioner Irvin?
No objection. I was trying to understand. There's, and this might be a question more for the finance director in terms of the maintenance of effort. Is there a requirement for this? We have to continue to budget a certain amount under something like this?
I mean, if you want to continue the program, yes, you'll have to budget the maintenance agreement, which is $35,000 to $40,000, depending on how many cameras we have.
Yes, sir.
And I believe an additional part-time personnel.
Yes, sir.
That would be reoccurring. But as far as a requirement, I mean, if you didn't want to continue the program, then I don't believe you would have to continue that.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you. We were requesting to apply for the State of Tennessee Violent Crime Intervention Grant. There's a no match to this grant. They did a formula on how much each agency gets. We're qualified for $372,970 on this grant.
Is that going just to your department, or is that shared with anyone else?
It's just for the sheriff's office.
Any further questions for?
If we request it and get it, do we have to spend the same amount in subsequent years?
No, so this is,
One time?
yes, sir.
Michael, I think what he's getting at is, he's wondering if there's a maintenance of effort that we have to pay For instance, if we're financing at a certain level, can we lower how much we finance? Address that. I hope I stated that correctly.
It's a generic safety, Department of Safety.
I'm not aware of one. That does not mean there's not something in the fine print that I don't know of. But I'm not aware of one. I don't think, we haven't talked about that, so I don't think you are either, are you?
No, sir. If we, this grant money is available to hire someone. If we hire someone, then we'd have to adopt their salary after the grant runs out. If we choose to keep them on board. If that answers your question.
I think so. I'm trying just to get a sense for the maintenance of effort in this context, whether there is a requirement.
I know what you're asking about, because there are some programs federally that there is one. I'm not aware of that, what you're asking about, on either of these two things that have been presented, other than if we wanted to continue the program or continue to keep that person employed. I do know what you're talking about, especially on the education side. There's a lot of those. I'm not aware of that in this case, but I'll be glad to double check and try to read the fine print and make sure there's not. And if there is, I'll bring that back to this body or the commission.
Right, thank you.
There have been grants in the past, for instance, where we have been able to acquire firefighters or police officers. And at the end of that term, there was requirement, there was federal money that we hire those people at least for a certain amount of time. But I don't think it's in this one. Okay. Any other discussion? We've got a motion and a second.
We don't have a motion.
No motion and second on this. Entertaining a motion. Motion to approve. Commissioner Harris.
Second.
And second, Commissioner Irvin. Any other questions? Let's say there's no cost to this. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, moves us up to item 9, general fund budget transfer for emergency management.
Be number 8, Commissioner.
Sorry. Application for Homeland. Trying to skip you there, Chris. Come on up. I'm sorry, this is an application for 2022 Homeland Security Grant.
Flip them around.
Thank you, Chairman, Mayor, Committee. Emergency Management is requesting to apply for 2022 Homeland Security Grant. This is an annual grant that we apply for each year. This year is for $111,208. This is a 100% grant. I didn't look. Sorry. I think it was like 98,000. I think it was like 98,000, something like that. Yeah.
If I could ask, what's it generally for?
Page 2. Page 2 of your document shows the details.
On your iPad, if you flip over one page, it'll show you there. Let's see. You hadn't found it there. He's got a robotic system, scoop stretchers, long spine boards. Am I reading the right one, Chris?
Yes, sir.
I believe I am. Traction splints, trauma bags, M9.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry. Sorry for that.
This is something they, as a group, we see this every year, but there's a group that he works with too, and they get together and they decide what they need. And that's where they prioritize from that.
And this is distributed throughout the region, which is Metro, Sumner, Trousville, Cannon, Williamson. It's a regional approach.
Any other questions for Chris? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. And a second, Commissioner Piercy. Any more questions for Chris? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Mr. Harris?
I like how I'm first on everything.
Next month you won't be.
There you go. Yes.
Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Reno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. And just for you new folks, I actually talked to Mark, and what we do is next meeting, whoever's second on the list will be first on the list, and you'll move to the bottom. So
Commissioner
you're not
Urban will be in
first
the
every
hot
month.
seat. Yeah.
Well, I'm just, anyway, we decided to do that a couple of years ago, and it's worked out all right. I know our other secretary actually will rotate it every vote. It's a little hard to keep up with. Okay, we're ready now for number 9. Or have we,
No, number 9 is correct.
all right. General fund budget transfer for emergency management.
Emergency management is requesting to move $2,000 from furniture and fixtures into data processing equipment. This is for a new employee for their computer.
Okay, so he's asking for $2,000. It's within his budget. Questions for him?
Can't operate if he doesn't have the equipment. Motion to approve.
Motion, second, from Commissioner Urban. Any other questions? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Urban? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Srinion?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Chris. Okay, number 10, if maybe I can keep my numbers straight here tonight. Brian, come on up. Ambulance service budget, fund budget amendments.
Good evening. We're asking to move $300,000 from patient charges into assessment and penalties, and that's for 10-care assessment program that we will have to pay in $270,475.10, but we will receive back $408,793.50, which will go into that line item that we're pulling from.
I know this is new to some of you there.
Can you say that once again?
It's complicated. So 10-Care does an assessment program where they have to bring in some revenue, and it's matched with some federal dollars. And that program's changed over the last couple of years. This year's been really weird because of CMS, Medicare's trying to discern the language of how it is. So it kind of went on hold for a few quarters. That's usually the assessment's not $270,000. It's not that high. So they lumped in multiple quarters for 2022. So basically, we're paying them $270. They're giving us back $408 because there's the federal dollar matching, but without the ambulance services paying in the assessment, there's not money sitting there to get the federal dollars to match it. It's the same thing, nursing homes did the same thing a few years ago with they had like a bed assessment, and it's just a way to make the money to get the match. I agree. It's, and and I think this went through Q3, so in the next month, we're probably going to get the Q4 assessment, but this is 1, 2, and 3.
Red tape, that's a short term for it. We're jumping their hoops. But it's worth our while to do that.
$138,000 for us.
Okay, you've heard the discussion. Any questions or a motion?
Move.
Johnson, Commissioner Irvin for second. Any other discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Urban? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Srinion?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Okay, general fund budget amendment for fire and rescue. Guy looks like he's out of gas. Or diesel, maybe.
Diesel, yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The budget amendment for you is to move $70,000 from the county's 312 line to our diesel, the 425 line to our 312 diesel fuel line.
Have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from the committee? Just for general information, we do have a line item that other departments can pull from, which is what's happening here. This is not, the money that he's pulling is not budgeted in his department, but it's budgeted as a whole. So any department that's hurting for it, for instance, ambulance, could ask for it, so. Any other questions? Hear none, call roll, please.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch? Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. All right, 12, general purpose school fund budget amendments. Welcome, Superintendent.
Director, is that something other than what we already have?
It is just a general update of what our new mission and vision is that our board just approved, and I'll get you a copy of that.
Can you provide me that for the
I
record?
absolutely will, yes. So thank you all. I'm Jimmy Sullivan. I'm our Rutherford County Director of Schools, and I just wanted to give you guys just a quick update of where we are as a district. I shared this with Health and Ed a couple weeks ago and felt like you all need to know the same information, just the basic portion. We just completed a new strategic plan for our district. We have updated our mission statement, investing in our students for tomorrow's possibilities. We have a new vision statement, a collaborative culture, successful students, empowered educators, and proactive planning. And then we have just 5 basic goals that we are going to hopefully be able to align everything we do as a district with. 1, provide early interventions that address student needs and support the whole child. 2, recruit, retain, and support highly effective employees for our growing and diverse student population. 3, increase achievement for all students by providing a high quality and equitable education. 4, create efficient operations that optimize the investment in our students. And then last, ensure all facilities provide a safe and equitable space for our district to learn and grow. Next thing you have is a demographic profile. I will give this to Health and Ed every month, and I will also give this to you every month, just so you can see an idea of where we are growing as a district. What this signifies is all of our students pre-K through 12. And I want to take a second just to clarify. If we talk about kindergarten through 12th, we're about 50,000, 200 or 300 students, depending on the day. We also serve several hundred 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and a couple 5-year-olds in our integrated pre-K, which is with our general education and special education. That's a state and federal grant. And then our voluntary pre-K, which is a state grant as well. The other reason that there's additional students in this number you see here is we have super seniors. Those are students who are 18 to 21 who have already graduated high school, but they are allowed to stay federally with us in some of our most severe needs until they are 20, actually until they finish in their 22. So you will see if we include all of our voluntary pre-K, integrated pre-K, K-12, and super seniors, we are actually at 51,080 students. You have the overall demographic breakdown. A couple things I wanted to just bring to your attention is the ESL, which is English as a second language. That is our second to last column. You will see 5,204 students. So we are over 10% of our student population is English as a second language. That is growing tremendously. This also does not include what we call transition students who have recently passed their assessment and are no longer ESL. So we are actually probably 13 to 14% of our overall student population. The other portion right beside it is free and reduced lunch, 19,179, so about 38% of our students are free and reduced lunch. This changes just a little bit, but I wanted you all to have an enrollment update of kind of where we are, and I will provide this every other month. The other thing I will do is provide it by school that just shows totals and teachers the opposite month. So that's just a general overview before we kind of got into some of our other stuff. Yes, sir.
Mayor Carr.
Dr. Sullivan, 2 quick questions. With regard to the growth of free and reduced lunch and ESL, how are those populations growing in comparison to the overall population growth in our county schools?
So overall, we are still growing above our 2%. That was what we were hoping to stay. It was about a 2% growth for our district. That's still 1,000 students.
That's year over year?
Year over year. Even just being 2%, though, at 50,000 kids, we're growing 1,000 kids every year. Our ESL and special education population is growing the most because of our northern schools, our bordering metropolitan Nashville, of course, and that's where our largest numbers are coming from.
So do we have numbers, when you say they're growing faster than our general population growth, do you have numbers about what the growth is of ESL?
I can get you that for the next time.
If you don't mind,
I'll be happy
please.
to.
That'll be great. Well, the assumption that the mayor's office is making is those particular students have specific needs over and above the general population that would incur an additional cost to the school system. Would that be an accurate?
Absolutely. So if you are a student, for an example, there's a third grade English as a second language student, you are required to have an English as a second language teacher. You are also required to have a third grade teacher. And so we do get funded. We get an additional, and with TISA, we'll get an addition. We call them unique learning needs. So we'll get an additional fund for that. But it is surely not covering what both of those teachers would cost.
And finally, with regard to ESLs, of course, not every student has their primary language the same language. How do you then break apart the ESL portion of that? Obviously, English is the second language, but the primary language could be any number of languages based on the culture of that community. So how do we then identify that to provide that ESL service?
That is so we're an English first state or English only state, so that is what we have to provide our education in, but we have over 130 languages at last count that we had last year that are spoken in Rutherford County. A lot of those are different dialects, of course, from different languages. Our top two being Spanish, and then Arabic is our next.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Mr. Irving.
Up on that, we talked earlier about not just the student, but the family that's speaking that second English. Are we making any inroads there?
Yes, we are. So we have a family facilitator, engagement facilitator, and they are working with not just the adult classes for making sure they're fluent, but also bringing them into the education sector, because it's not just about parents being involved. We need parents engaged with their education. So if we have that language barrier, unfortunately, we do have to use a lot of technology for that language translation, because there's just not enough people in our society to go around that can talk about all these different languages. So I'm sure there's something lost in electronic translation, but that's where we're moving.
Mr. Irving.
Yeah, this is not as sophisticated a question as the mayor asked or anyone else, but could we get like a side-by-side year over year?
Yes, I will have that. I will have a much more rigorous probably at our January meeting. We're in the middle of an enrollment analysis that is going back with a third-party vendor to show year over year over year over year what are our trends. We have one, but I want to see it by what grades are moving in from other districts so that we can see where's our biggest growth year over year. But absolutely, I can have that for you. Great
Thank
point.
you.
Mr. Harris.
Dr. Sullivan?
Yes, sir.
Just need some clarification based on state law, what is the student per teacher ratio?
So it is going to be different by grade band. If you are kindergarten through third grade, it is 1 to 20 students. In fourth through sixth grade, it is 1 to 25. Then 7 through 9, you are going to be 1 to 30. And then high school, it's in that 1 to 30, the 1 to 22 range, and then C to E can be 1 to 20. So high school fluctuates just a little bit based on what class you're in, but your overall is 1 to 20, K3, 4, 6 is 1 to 25, and then 1 to 30 in your middle to freshman.
Well, the reason I'm asking this question is because special ed, our number is 5589. So that number has grown.
Absolutely.
So to my understanding, is it 6 to 1 on special ed?
It is going to depend on what their option code is. And when we move to TISA, it's going to be called their unique learning need. So for students who are on consult, which is what we call option 1 or option 0, they can have 1 student per 91 teachers. When you move over into your more severe disabilities that have multiple issues, you're going to be 1 to probably 7.8. I don't remember exactly what the BEP, but it is much lower than that. Each option code is different. You'll see we are a very different district even than what we were 5 years ago, and even more so than we were 10 years ago, to see just kind of our breakdown.
We appreciate the information. We usually get that once a year.
Yeah.
It's nice to see we'll be getting that monthly.
Yeah, I'll be giving this to you guys monthly. We do expect enrollment to drop just a little bit in January because we will have early graduates who graduate seniors, and so you'll notice that drop a little. We still do get funded for those students, so move on when they're ready, and we're not penalized, but if you see the January number drop a little bit, it's because we have some students who graduate early.
Dr. Sullivan,
Yes,
one
sir.
more question. When you first came to this body, I think it was in September, you talked about there was a significant challenge in getting teachers in the classroom. I believe it was approximately a shortage of about 80 teachers, if I'm not mistaken. Can you share with us if we've made any progress in that regard and what that progress hopefully will look like?
Yes. I would love to tell you that we've made progress. We have slowed the trend, and that is what we're looking at. So right now, our trend is that we are hiring more teachers every week than we are losing. I am worried about retirements. I'm worried about people leaving the profession at the end of the year. For us, it is more so that because we are adding so many students, I would feel confident that we could be able to hire for all the teachers that would leave just because of natural attrition, that 5 to 10%. Where we're struggling is when we're adding the 1,000 to 1,500. Last year, we added 2,100 kids. That's an additional 150 teachers that MTSU is not graduating. Local universities aren't graduating that many. So we're either having to grow our own teachers, put teachers who are on an alternate licensure path, which you can be successful, but that definitely opens you up to potential issues because they don't have any true experience outside of maybe that content knowledge. So it is, we reversed the trend. We're not as bad off as I honestly anticipated. When we were in June, we had over 200 openings, and where we've been able to staff is that we've used some of our ESSER funds for extended contracts, so teachers have given up their planning periods. Instead, we're compensating them on what a beginning teacher would be and dividing it by that period. So we're staffed well. I worry how long that will hold if we continue down the trend that we're on.
Thank you for that update, and if there's anything I or my office can do to help you with that, I mean, that's obviously of paramount importance, and so we're at your disposal, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I do want to mention, like, what helps us is that our pay for teachers is in the top 14 in the state, and so we are paying teachers well. We are working on discipline, making sure our working conditions are strong. What is, again, hurting us is there's just not enough teachers to hire to fill our classrooms because we're growing. Yep.
Any other general? Commissioner Serino.
Dr. Sullivan, I would just like to let you know that after you and I talking at the Rotary Club, and later on I went to meet with the grandparent of the future student that would like to come here or told them about the season, to help.
Yeah.
Well, they were so happy.
Yeah, we're always happy to help. Public servants, that's our job.
Okay, please continue.
I actually
gave out budget amendments.
I gave out my last copy of it.
Oh, I'm
Somehow
sorry.
I'm missing my own copy, so can I borrow somebody's? Thank you. Sorry, I'm usually much more prepared than that. Somehow I didn't have my own too. All right, so we have two budget amendments. First one's Fund 141, General Purpose School Budget Amendment. This amendment increases budgeted 141 revenue and expenditures to recognize the awarded amount of fiscal year 22-23 Safe School Grant. This reflects the grant award that was approved by the State Department of Education. This year's grant award is $1,016,781. Recommended motion to amend the fiscal year 22-23 General Purpose School Budget to reflect the annual Safe Schools Grant Award. We always budget this low until we know exactly what award we're getting.
You've heard his request. Do I hear a motion?
Actually, another amendment. I don't know if you want to carry that one with it or.
Committee, if you'd like to continue, Commissioner Irwin.
Could I ask just a general question? This kind of goes back to that whole maintenance of effort idea. When we get these grants, does it automatically bump it up every year, or is it a static calculation?
This one's actually going to go away. It is funded through TISA, so this will be the last year of the Safe Schools grants. You know it.
That is true. However, this does not affect, this revenue does not affect our maintenance of effort. Our maintenance of effort requirement for the schools is local revenue. This is not local revenue. So this even accepting this today does not affect the MOE for next year's budget, regardless of whether this grant either comes back or goes away.
Thank you.
Okay, would the committee like to go ahead and pick up this second amendment? Or look at them both together? Okay, I'm seeing nods, yes.
All right, the second, this amendment is to fund 7 additional ESL teaching positions in order to bring RCS to compliance with the state of Tennessee ESL requirements. The Tennessee Department of Education requires a staffing ratio of 35-1 for ESL students, and RCS is not meeting this ratio in relation to total student of ESL students to teachers. This funding is derived by decreasing general purpose fund 141 unassigned fund balance and increasing salary and benefit expenditure line items in the 71-100 function. The total amount of this funding is $478,768. I do want to add, I'm not sure that we will fill these positions because they are hard to fill, but it is a compliance portion that we have to submit to the Tennessee Department of Education, and in order for us to check that box, these are the positions that we need.
Mr. Chairman? Quick question. Same question as before. Does it affect the maintenance of effort? And, to pick up on something Chairman Harris said, are these likely to increase?
Yes.
The requirements to increase, and how do we, I'm just trying to get a sense for what that means.
Yeah. Do you want to hit on the maintenance? Yeah.
So this budget amendment directly does not affect maintenance of effort because maintenance of effort is based on local revenues. And as you can see, this does not affect local revenues. However, this is a reoccurring expense of $500,000 that will have to be picked up next year in the general purpose school operating budget. So by a roundabout way, yes, it will eventually increase maintenance of effort. However, it does not increase it today. But I will add, every year, it is a little different than the county. They're going to add 100 positions potentially every year with teachers at a school district that size. So I don't want that $500,000 amount. It's going to be a lot different in relation to the schools than it is for the county budget. That would be huge for us to commit to in 7 or 8 positions every year, but it is very normal for them to add 20 to 50, 20 to 80 teachers. I don't want to speak for Dr. Sullivan, but that's
right.
very normal.
Yeah.
A lot of times they can put that in some growth positions throughout the year. I would just assume that this hit them harder, those ESL increase hit them harder than they expected if I had to guess.
It did, and then I imagine with our BEP growth funds, it'll more than cover this money that we get, but we don't have all those funds yet here. Of course.
Any further questions for Dr. Sullivan? Not, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Harris?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Johnson. Any more questions? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Srinion?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Dr. Sullivan. All right. Next up is a highway fund budget amendment. See Mr. Brooks here, so I assume he'll be up here in a moment. Like I just saw you.
It does, doesn't it? I'm sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I have for you a budget amendment for the salary increases across the board for all of the employees at the Highway Department. This will be a mid-year salary increase, and we've gone through our, this is internal money. This is not money coming out of our fund ending balance. This is money that we have in our current budget. We've gone through our budget line by line and gathered this money up. So if you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. It amounts to $79,080, and it affects 66 employees currently.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Commissioner Johnson, any other questions for Highway Superintendent?
Just roughly, what's the percentage?
Sir?
What's the percentage per employee roundabout?
Well, it's a dollar amount. It's not a percentage, and so it's difficult to say exactly because of the vast difference in the annual pay for a new employee as opposed to a seasoned employee, that's been there for maybe 25, 30 years.
What's the amount?
$1.
Any other questions? I have a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussion, call roll.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Thank
That's
you.
all I have for you. Thank you very much.
All right, next up is a general fund budget transfer for county buildings.
I'll take that.
Michael, you gonna get this?
Yep. You good? I didn't know if you wanted this one. This budget amendment, this past year, budget year, the maintenance department took over the maintenance and repairs for all of our public safety buildings, for the ambulance stations, those type of buildings. And there was an increase in budget to do that for the county maintenance department. However, that was budgeted in a service category, and the maintenance department needs that in a materials category. So this is reclassifying from maintenance and repair services to other supplies and materials. This does not affect fund balance.
Okay, you've heard the request. Any questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Irvin, motion to approve.
Second.
Reno with the second. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Item 15, we're going to defer. We're waiting on information from the state. They haven't sent it to us, so we'll look at that next month. The next three items are basically related or similar. It's money that have actually been added to grants. And 16 is the first one, which is amendment to state grants for recovery court, veterans treatment court, and mental health court and related general fund budget amendments. Michael, you doing this one?
Yeah, I'll take 16, 17, and 18 if that's okay.
All right.
So we'll do number 16 first. Recovery Court, Veterans Treatment Court, and the Mental Health Court all had rate increases for their grants. You can see all three of those attached on your SharePoint or on your iPad. The largest one being $170,000 for the Mental Health Court. All of that is no match, and all of that does not affect our fund balance. So this is booking the revenue of that grant. And these are existing grants that we already have. They've increased the allocation and funding for those grants. That's item number 16. Any questions?
These are essentially reclasses?
No, these are recognizing additional awarded grant funds. For example, the Mental Health Court got an additional $170,000. And originally, they got $30,000 at the beginning of the budget year, and they've got an additional $170,000 to spend. So it's not a reclass, it's an additional grant funds that have been awarded to us. And we already have the grant. So initially, we were awarded $30,000 for Mental Health Court, and now we're awarded an additional $170,000.
Sometimes the state will have money out there for other counties that it's not used and turn it around and say, hey, do you want this? And of course, we're using them and trying to benefit our people. So that's why you'll see that typically. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, you've heard the request. Do I hear a motion? Commissioner Johnson, a motion
Second.
to approve.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno.
Is this for, this motion for 16, 17, and 18?
Just 16.
Just 16.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions? All roll, please.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Urban? Yes. Commissioner Johnson? Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Please continue.
Okay, number 17 is a new grant awarded for Recovery Court for reentry career training. You'll see the budget amendment hits revenue and expense, so there's no match with this, and this is hitting the revenue expense, so it doesn't affect fund balance. And then you can see in the description what that's going to be spent for. It's going to be for counselors, case managers, to help with that reentry program training.
Mr. Chairman. Okay, this grant, I have been in talks with the mayor, and I'm sure he'll comment on it. So we have one counselor and two case managers, and I don't think most people are aware that we have no room to put them. So is this grant has to be spent in the next 12 months?
It's a 3-year no-match grant for a total of
We got time to
$899,000.
take care of that problem. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I so moved.
Mr. Sereno moves to approve.
Second.
Second. Commissioner Harris. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Continue, Mike.
Okay, and number 18, this is a reclassification. This is the reclassification of a revenue line item. It's no new money. It's just us reclassifying to the correct account code for that $12,000.
Okay, you've heard the request to straighten out a accounting error, I guess. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Mr. Urban? Any discussion? All in favor? Well, this is money. Call roll, please.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yeah.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Item 19 has also been deferred. We are looking for some information from the city to clarify some information about a bill that we've got there. That moves us to item 20, which is actually good news. Michael, you want to?
So I do have a rare bit of good news. Usually from me, it's always bad news. But during the budget process, we did not know the amount of Nissan's final pilot payment. We do have that amount now, and it is in front of you. That final pilot payment will be $2,081,000. And of course, that is split between us and the town of Smyrna. So a portion of that payment will be sent to Smyrna, and the other portion will be put to our fund balance. So this budget amendment will increase our fund balance by $1,039,900.
Are there any questions on this?
And this is the last year of that pilot agreement. So next year, it would they would be on the tax roll for this, for the personal property here, for the real and personal property.
Okay, you've heard the money there. Who wants to give me a motion to accept this $1 million or $2 million? I don't see anybody jumping up. I am entertaining a motion.
Motion to accept it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Gooch.
Second.
Yeah, I won't bypass this one. Do I hear a second or did I?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we've got two seconds there. Mr. Sereno, I think, got in first. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, guys. Is there anything anybody in the committee needs to discuss? If not, we are dismissed.